My name is Chris Honor. I'm a high performance coach, an entrepreneur, and I've been in sport and fitness for over 25 years. But here's the real thing. I wasn't born confident. I wasn't the best athlete, and I certainly wasn't set up for success. I grew up moving around every 3 to 5 years as part of a military family. My dad was in the army. We moved to Berlin when I was age 5. We came back to the UK. I would move into different schools and have to learn and pick up the same subjects, sometimes even a couple of times. We then moved back over to Gibraltar in my sort of early to mid-teens. Every time I made friends, it was time to move again. I couldn't really get settled as a child. And I learned very, very early not to get attached, not to be clingy. I was bullied virtually everywhere that I went, and I became withdrawn. I was very low on confidence, and I would always keep myself to myself. And you could argue that I was a bit of a recluse. You know, when I'd go and see family sometimes, I would be encouraged to go out and play, but I didn't really want to go out and play. I'd rather sit upstairs and watch episodes of Tom and Jerry or watch Liverpool Football Club videos. I'd much rather have done that. But when I was 5, my sister passed away. And I don't talk about this very often. It's a very, very sentimental and close thing to my heart. And I find it hard to talk about even now. And this was a long time ago. You know, she was born disabled, unfortunately. And losing her that young shaped me more than I really understood. You know, at the age of 5, we moved to Berlin. And I don't blame anybody for this, but my sister had to stay. She had to stay at home in Leicester, where I was born, and I'm very, I'm a Leicester lad, born and bred. And my sister stayed there, and she's buried there now. And I didn't realise that suffering something like that so young would shape me to be the person I am now. Looking at things from a sporting perspective, I wasn't the best footballer. I didn't even play rugby until I was in the army and I was in the 20s. I was scared to even play rugby. But they're the two sports that, are probably my biggest successes. I could run. I'd go for runs with my dad all the time. I would always go running with my dad. We'd get up at like 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. We'd go for a run. Sometimes I didn't really want to, but my dad would push me because he knew that I had the capacity to do it. He wanted to teach me discipline and keep me fit, and it's something that's been instilled with me for a long time. Discipline. It gave me something that I knew I was going to do every day. It gave me that constant. It was It was the time between me and my dad that we spent together. We share a passion for fitness. We share a passion for football, for sport. But I was always told growing up that I'd never make a career out of football. I'd never be good enough to play football. And because I hadn't played football, I would never get a job in coaching. So, despite breaking onto the scene as a coach at 16, 17 with Cambridge United and Northampton Town, and even having spells at Leicester City as on work experience, I joined the army. I didn't really want to do it. I was scared. I thought I was going to go to war all the time. But I soon learned the art of discipline, consistency, being regimented. Having spent 8 years nearly as a combat medical technician. I went to Iraq. I spent 6 months in Iraq. And I was one of the fortunate ones that come back alive. And in Iraq, I learned a hell of a lot. Expect the unexpected is the easiest way to describe it. We had to adapt. We had missiles, bombs going off overhead, 10 metres away, open land. I actually saw my life flash up in front of me when I was on guard duty one night, thinking that a mortar round was coming in my direction. Whereas in fact, it was just another regiment that was doing an exercise drill. But I didn't know that. I had to adapt. I had to utilize my training. And it all came to me like that because I was always ready. I had to be ready. I had no choice. It was a life and death situation. And for the first time in my life in Iraq, I really had to look after myself under pressure. It was me and me alone. My mum, my dad, my sister, my loved ones are all back home. And I was on my own with my regimental or my fellow soldiers. Some of the people I knew, some of the people I didn't know. So again, I was making more friendships. You know, the story of my life, right? Then when I come back from Iraq, I suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. I had really bad dreams at night. I would wake up thinking that I was in Iraq. Up until recently, I would watch things on the TV, you know, about the military. And I would wake up still thinking I was still in the army. I left the army in 2011, nearly 14 years ago. But still, I get these flashbacks. But I have to control myself emotionally. I have to be able to talk about these things. Because if I don't talk, then who's going to help me? I've spoken to counsellors. I've spoken to Mind. We've outlaid everything and my reasons behind my mental health struggles in the past. Because I've had the help. I've built a great network of people around me. I struggled with PTSD. I still suffer from anxiety to this day, despite doing some really good things in my career and let's be honest, I've had some great experiences. I've worked with some great people. People like yourself and me would only dream of. There'll be times where I would make decisions that weren't the best decisions, and as a you know, I would suffer those consequences in a number of different ways. The pain, it nearly broke me numerous times. I felt like I'm going to break down. I feel like at times where there's nobody that's there to help me. I went to rock bottom, and I'm telling you now, it wasn't nice. And I had to accept that things weren't going to move on until I made a change. When I left the army, within about 6 to 12 months, I was unemployed. I made the decision to go into football, and it failed. I had made that decision that only I could get myself out of it. I was in a relationship that just went sour, and it just didn't materialize, and I was on my own. I ended up being on benefit, drowning in debt. No one was going to save me. It doesn't matter how many times I went to ask for help. You know, I had to get on with it on my own. I'd moved to different places just to bring my rent down. Make stupid decisions like moving from one place to another just so I could coach football on a voluntary basis. Stupid decision, but again, a decision that I made, I learned from, and I gained benefit from in the same capacity. I met people that helped me and created opportunities for me that I never before would have had. I learned the most important lessons of my life in my early years, between my 20s and my 30s. My past does not disqualify me, as your past does not disqualify you from anything. It trains you and it gets you the experience, the motivation, the realization of life. If you take responsibility for it and you accept that what is done is done. I became self-employed. I set up my own business. I would go into schools and do what I knew best. Go into schools, coach football. And it worked really well for a short period of time. But again, one contract came away, and it was my biggest one that I had. and the business went. I was back to square one. I was on dole. I was on benefits, and I didn't know what to do. I really did not know what to do. So I messed up, made some more silly decisions, and I struggled. I really did. And I was speaking to careers advice people at the job centre, and I found a personal training qualification, and I did that, and I enrolled in that. And I made the decision in 2015 to become a personal trainer, self-employed again, while working part-time. And it worked. Coming into my 11th year now as an entrepreneur, as a fitness coach, a sports coach, someone who's consistently been working with athletes, whether it's been with weight loss, whether it's been to improve speed, agility, whether it's been football coaching, rugby coaching, team coaching. I've done it. Because 9 years ago, I met my current partner, and she saw something in me that many people wouldn't. She saw how hard I tried. I spoke to her. I was open-hearted as I am being to you now, and I told her exactly what I needed and what I wanted. And she helped me, and she still does to this day. Things are never easy. They never are in relationships. They never are in business and life. I still on occasion would make the wrong decisions, but I'd get held account for it. And by hell, I didn't do it. I didn't do it for very long. I didn't do it many times after that. I can rest assure you that. I moved to Greater Manchester. I found better people. I surrounded myself with people that were going to motivate and inspire me. And I can honestly say now that at 42 years of age, I've accomplished a lot of the things that I've wanted to in life. 2 years ago, I competed at England's Strongest Man as a strongman. Those that know me wouldn't even think that I would compete as strongman, but I did it. In 2024, I was the 29th. I was the OSG 29th England's Strongest Man. 29th strongest man in England. But I didn't lift any weights. I showed up. But I can say that I might have finished last in that competition, but out of 29 people in the UK, I showed up, and I can turn around and say I was the 29th strongest man in England in that competition. And I did that because I wanted to prove to myself something to myself. And I can say I've done it. And I'm proud of it. I might not have lifted, but I was in that situation. I met some great people, and I cannot emphasize how important it is to get yourself around good people that are going to inspire and motivate you. I really cannot express how important that is. I now run 4 businesses. I've got Kazari Sportswear, which again is a business which is flopped under Honor Athletic, and it's something I started again late last year, and I'm confident it's going to make strides. I've got good people in my corner that are helping me with that. I've got Manchester Rugby Coaching, which is all about going into schools, delivering competitions, rugby coaching, strength and conditioning on that side. I've got Chris Honor Performance, which is mainly all about strength and conditioning, football technical coaching, and supporting people. And I've got Legacy Football Performance, which is a sports consultancy and high performance business which helps clubs and players and their families to make a career out of football. So as you can tell, it's been a whirlwind journey. Now, if you're watching this video and you're thinking, I've messed up far too many times. I'm 42, I'm too old to make a change. I don't have any confidence. Or you've watched this video and you think that the time is finished. There's no more opportunities for you. Your confidence is shot. Well, you're wrong, guys. I can tell you now that confidence is built through action. You can watch as many motivational videos, and trust me, I've done it. You can watch as many motivational videos as you like, but it'll make you feel good for 5 minutes. But then you're back to square one. Identity is built through consistency, not comfort. Getting out of your comfort zone and changing habits that are not working. So stop lying to yourself. Grab the bull by the horns, guys, and start taking action. Because this is why I do what I do. I've lived a life of lessons, heartache, failure. But I've had to learn to have no fluff approach. I can't lie to myself. No BS, no bull, no excuses, just taking control, taking ownership of your life. So if you want real change, then I encourage you to stay connected with me. Stay connected with yourself. Because this is only the start for you.